This page is the front cover of Dreamcast Magazine issue 8, June 2000. It's dominated by Resident Evil code, Veronica, proclaiming, "It's here! Full scream ahead!" Seems like the review is in. There's also a mention of first Dreamcast playtests and screenshots for Black and White and Hidden and Dangerous. Looks like this issue came with a free demo disc boasting 4 playable games. Down at the bottom they're teasing guides for Rayman 2 and Tomb Raider, plus some career advice on getting a job in the games industry. The bottom also lists a few other games they're covering, including Jet Set Radio, GTA 2, Wacky Races, 4-Wheel Thunder, and Tony Hawk Skateboarding. This page presents a full-page advertorial, splitting the focus between 2 Dreamcast titles, Kurt and Max. For Kurt, the tagline is "Outsnipe," showcasing a rather imposing figure in black armor with a distinctive, almost insectoid helmet design against a fiery backdrop. The screenshots below suggest some kind of futuristic, possibly sci-fi shooter gameplay. On the opposite side, for Max, the tagline is "Outshoot," featuring a bizarre-looking character, quite frankly a bit of a monstrous dog-like figure with a bandolier and what looks like a cigar, again set against a fiery background. The screenshots for Max also appear to be action-oriented, possibly more arcade-style shooting. Both sections are clearly advertising games from BioWare Corp, published by Interplay for the Dreamcast. It's worth noting that these titles, Kurt and Max, are actually character names from the game MDK2, a famously quirky and fast-paced action title. So this is a promotional page for MDK2, emphasizing the playable characters and their contrasting gameplay styles, Kurt being the sniper, and Max being the shoot-anything-that-moves type. This page continues the advertorial for MDK2, doesn't it? Following on from Kurt and Max, this time it's all about Dr. Hawkins and his outthink gameplay style. It's clearly highlighting the variety in MDK2, with that tagline, 3 heroes, 3 types of action, 1 ultimate goal, summing it up nicely. We see a mad professor-type Dr. Hawkins himself, in front of a rather fiery background, looks like he's brewing up some concoction, a bit eccentric, but that's the MDK style. Below there are some gameplay screenshots showing the varied environments and action you can expect. BioWare and Interplay are still proudly displaying their logos too, and it's definitely for the Dreamcast as the logo is right there at the bottom. This page is really nailing home the point that MDK2 is going to offer different gameplay experiences depending on which hero you choose. The next page is dedicated to this month's cover disc, boasting 4 awesome playable demos. Kicking things off is Rally 2 Expert Edition, described as a highly tuned rally racer with amazing graphics and smooth driving. Then there's Fur Fighters, a puzzle shooter with those bizarre cute characters, and a whole arsenal of weapons for up to 3 players. Next up is 4-Wheel Thunder, bringing monster truck action and off-road racing, promising a muddy time. And finally, there's SEGA Worldwide Soccer Euro Edition, apparently a much improved football game compared to the initial release. It even features commentary from an Arsenal vs Street Etienne match. Over on the right, in a section titled "It's Hot, Hot, Hot," editor Warren Christmas is chatting about the summer vibes and what's happening in the Dreamcast world. He mentions upcoming titles like Choo Choo Rocket and Resident Evil Code, Veronica, as well as Tony Hawk Skateboarding, Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future. He also teases Metropolis Street Racer and Dead or Alive 2, and notes the magazine is growing in size. Issue 8 of the magazine, June 2000, previews exciting Dreamcast titles like Jet Set Radio, Super Magnetic Neo, Tony Hawk Skateboarding, and 4-Wheel Thunder. Reviews cover Resident Evil Code, Veronica, GTA 2, Street Fighter 2i, Double Impact, and Tech Romancer, among others. Features include discussions on X-rated games, interviews with industry figures, and debates on game sequels. Hints and tips are provided for games like Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, and Rayman 2. Regular sections include charts, gadgets, letters, and reader reviews. This magazine introduces the team behind its creation. Alex Hutala, a former PlayStation enthusiast now into Sega Saturn. Steve Hill, a freelance writer with experience from PC Zone and Max Power. Steve Key, an Everton supporter who wrote for C&VG and enjoys Resident Evil. And Simon Clemenger, the photographer and StarCraft fan. The page also features an advertisement for the Dreamcast exclusive 4-Wheel Thunder, released in May 2000. The ad boasts a 92% Dreamcast magazine rating and highlights the game's features: over 60 off-road vehicles, stunning visuals, shortcuts, weather effects, a smooth 60 FPS in both single and multiplayer, vehicle customization, and 2-player mode. Screenshots showcase the game's off-road action, promising outdoor mayhem and indoor chaos. The ad is from Midway and Callisto. Contact details are also provided for SEGA support and magazine-related assistance. This page previews Resident Evil, Code Veronica. It's clear they're very impressed, as the preview is titled 4 out of 5, stating, "We all knew it was going to be good, but nobody predicted that it would be this good." The writer, Steve Key, describes the game's tension and atmosphere vividly, noting how it keeps you on edge and how the zombies are relentless. He mentions the improved graphics over previous games, highlighting details like the submachine gun bullets tearing into everything. He references a tense scene with a Terminator 2 vibe, where Arnie, presumably a zombie, is stalking the player. The preview also touches on the familiar Resident Evil gameplay loop of exploration, puzzle solving, and resource management, with emphasis on conserving ammunition. They mention the price is £39.99, published by Eidos and developed by Capcom. The screenshots showcase various gameplay moments, including Claire Redfield in action, zombies, and environments from the game, emphasizing the visual fidelity and intense atmosphere. It's definitely building anticipation for the game's release. Resident Evil, Code Veronica focuses on Claire Redfield's search for her brother, Chris. After the Raccoon City incident, Claire is imprisoned on a prison island at the game's start. The game introduces several key characters, including Steve Burnside, also on the island and potentially romantically linked to Claire. Chris Redfield eventually becomes playable, seeking Claire, and reuniting with an old friend, Alfred Ashford, connected to Umbrella, and the resurrected Albert Wesker, seeking Umbrella's downfall, also play significant roles. The text emphasizes the game's cinematic approach, comparing its opening to a movie trailer, highlighting its visuals and sound design to create an immersive experience. This page is all about Resident Evil, Code Veronica, continuing the discussion from the previous page. It features a rather handy timeline of the Resident Evil universe, starting way back in 1972, right up to 1998. It's quite interesting to see the events laid out like that, starting with Umbrella's origins, and tracking key moments like the Raccoon City destruction and the T-Virus outbreak. There are a few screenshots dotted about, showing different aspects of the gameplay. One shows Claire facing those nasty electric worms, another features the moth enemies which are a right pain, a third has Claire tackling 2 zombies at once, and the last one shows off the sniper rifle in action. Each screenshot has a little caption highlighting gameplay elements or enemy behaviors. There are also bits of text discussing the game itself. One part talks about the story and how it builds on the previous games, with interesting plot twists and character development. Another section is about the control system, mentioning it's similar to previous Resident Evil games, but with some tweaks, like using the analog stick and action button for item pickups and actions. The enemy descriptions give hints on how to deal with them, like shooting the worms and moths, and using the sniper rifle effectively. It's a good overview of what to expect in Code Veronica, and how it fits into the wider Resident Evil saga. This article dives into the horror elements of Resident Evil, Code Veronica, highlighting its zombie-filled gameplay. Describing the zombies as slow, shambling undead, the text mentions different types, and emphasizes the importance of headshots. The game's atmosphere, built through music and sound, is crucial for tension and scares. Screenshots depict scenes like a torture chamber, poison hunters, and the antagonist Alfred. Gameplay tips focus on resource management and combat strategies, like using shotguns and sniper rifles. The game throws a variety of enemies at you, including zombies, hunters, and creatures like electric worms and zombie monkeys, to keep players on edge. The article emphasizes the game's commitment to delivering a truly terrifying experience. The next page continues the deep dive into Resident Evil, Code Veronica, declaring it oozes class and quality, and is a must-have for any Resident Evil fan. The article praises the game's ability to pull you in, noting the story keeps you guessing, and the snippets of information gradually reveal a bigger picture, keeping you hooked. It highlights the excellent level of detail, suggesting you'll need to play it a few times to appreciate everything. The screenshots show Claire in various tense situations, one with Mr. Burnside in what looks like a control room, another showing her efficiently dealing with zombies by knocking them down and using her knife, a nasty-looking mutated creature in a tight corridor, and Claire facing off against some pesky giant bats. Another image shows Claire, possibly dealing with some giant spiders, indicating the variety of enemies. The verdict is very positive, awarding it a solid 9 out of 10. The uppers section praises the awesome gameplay experience, graphics, sound, gripping storyline and amazing intro sequence. The downers section is minimal, only mentioning it's very slow moving in places and has slightly dodgy character animation, but these are clearly minor quibbles. The magazine clearly believes Resident Evil Code Veronica is a top-tier Dreamcast title, calling it an absolute must-buy for anyone with a Dreamcast, and encourages players to persevere and experience it fully. This page is a rather quirky advert for Resident Evil 2 on Dreamcast. It features cartoon frogs dressed as characters, with one frog dressed in dungarees and a t-shirt, another in a red dress, and a third as a dad frog holding a baby frog wrapped in a blanket. The text below them reads, "Go and have some fun," said Daddy Frog, handing young Freddy a copy of Resident Evil 2 on Dreamcast. It's a playful way to promote the game, suggesting even frogs can enjoy a bit of zombie horror on the Dreamcast. Dreamcast Magazine is hyping the console's online capabilities, starting with Choo Choo Rocket. SEGA Europe is emphasizing the fun and communication of this action puzzle game, which allows for real-time online competition. While a finished version exists, network testing is ongoing, with a full report and launch expected around June 8. Konami's arcade hit, Silent Scope, is also coming to Dreamcast later this year. This light gun shooter features sniper action with scope views and is light gun compatible. Finally, Sega's arcade driving game 18-Wheeler American Pro Trucker will arrive this autumn. The magazine also notes Sega's strong presence at the Tokyo Game Show, indicating positive reception for the Dreamcast in Japan. This page previews upcoming Dreamcast games and shares industry news. Mr. Mojo's Racing, an Austin Powers-themed racer, is coming from Take-Two Interactive. Gladiators Ready, a futuristic sports game, is in development by Lost Toys, with an autumn release planned. Sega is offering Dreamcasts in America with a SegaNet subscription. A new South Park episode will feature a Dreamcast. Konami is partnering with Universal Pictures for Dreamcast games based on films like The Mummy and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. A Woody Woodpecker racing game is also in development. Acclaim may be facing financial difficulties. Bleed from Climax Graphics is a survival horror title. Sega's NHL 2K1 is already released. A snowboarding game, Snow Joke, is hinted at for a winter release. This week's news covers various entertainment releases. In movies, 8mm, The Corruptor are out on VHS, and Fight Club is coming. Gaming news includes a feature on Sega's ambitious online RPG, Fantastic Voyage, aiming for a global release with innovative communication systems. A competition offers a life-size Lara Croft statue to promote Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 boasts over 50 characters, and visual memory unit integration. Sonic Square, or Sonic Party, is a new Sonic Party game. Sega is also releasing a Dreamcast MP3 player add-on. Other games include Don't Mess Pac-Man, a 3D maze game. In film, Angelina Jolie is starring as Lara Croft, with mentions of her other films. Sega is also developing Tanks-a-Lot, an online tank battle game. Dead or Alive 2 is delayed to July, with a promise of improvements in the European version. This page highlights upcoming Dreamcast titles and reader preferences. Spawn, In the Demon's Hand is a multiplayer arena brawler, emphasizing arcade action and impressive graphics. WrestleMania is also previewed, promising a superior wrestling experience on Dreamcast. Developed by Ukes. A Have Your Say box encourages reader participation with a contest to vote for desired games. The Your Most Wanted chart reveals strong interest in Shenmue and Resident Evil Code Veronica, with Metropolis Street Racer, Half-Life, and other titles also ranking highly. The list reflects a mix of anticipated blockbusters and unique Dreamcast experiences. The next page showcases a couple of upcoming titles. First up is Worm War 3, which is promising online multiplayer, a proper online extravaganza they're calling it for the Dreamcast. It sounds like they are adding loads of new features and weapons. Apparently over 400 different weapons, which is quite something. They're talking about various game types and customization options. It's positioned as a big step up for online play on the Dreamcast, aiming for release before Christmas. Dorsey. Alongside that is Disney Magic, or Walt Disney World Quest, Magical Racing Tour, to give it its full title. This looks like a kart racing game set in Disney World, with tracks based on famous rides like Space Mountain and Pirates of the Caribbean. It's got recognizable Disney characters and power-ups, and is aiming for a June release. Looks like a bit of fun for the younger gamers, and they mention a 4-player split-screen mode, which is always good for some local multiplayer action. This page is diving into a couple of previews. First up, Going for Gold, which is the official Sydney 2000 Olympics game coming to the Dreamcast. They're promising all the big events, like track and field, sprinting, skeet shooting, weightlifting, diving, and even kayaking. Apparently, they used motion capture on real athletes to make the virtual sports stars look the part. It sounds like there are arcade, coaching, and Olympic modes, plus a virtual gym where you can train your athletes. Kaidos are releasing this one in August. Chapter. Then there's Control Yourself, previewing Stunt GP from Team 17, the chaps behind Worms Armageddon. This is a radio-controlled stunt racer. They're boasting about a full tournament mode, stunt challenges, quick races, and freestyle modes, so plenty to get your teeth into. It will have 16 different car models, and 24 tracks, with loops and jumps and all sorts of crazy physics. You can even upgrade your cars apparently. They mention a full preview will be in next month's magazine, which is out on Thursday the 11th of June. The next page kicks off with the Dreamcast Doorstep Challenge feature, with a rather amusing article called Acting Stupid. It seems to be about a family testing out the Dreamcast to see if it's worth swapping their PlayStation for one. They've been playing a variety of games, like Ace Combat 2, Ready to Rumble, Soul Calibur, and Metal Gear Solid. They even mention Tomb Raider, Crazy Taxi, Gran Turismo, and Tekken. The article features little snippets from Bob Kerbishley, Emma Harris, Simon Colbolt, and Martin about their experiences. Then over on the right, there's a preview for Genki's new challenge, which is of course Tokyo Highway Challenge 2. They're saying it's going to be a hot sequel, improving on the original with new circuits and cars. Apparently Genki claims they used about 20 to 30% of the Dreamcast power for the first game, so this one should really push the boat out graphically. They're talking about vastly improved graphics, new circuits, and a bashing mode where you can wreck opponent cars. There's a screenshot of a rather nice-looking blue sports car. It's due for release in Japan in June, and they're waiting for UK publisher details. Finally, at the bottom there's an advert for Dead or Alive 2, featuring Kasumi, and the tagline, "Are you hard enough?" Bit cheeky that, isn't it? The next page is all about how SEGA are building the Dreamcast brand, with an article called The Word on the Street, by Stuart Dredge. It talks about their clever marketing tactics, like those, "Believe us, you'd rather walk" posters for Crazy Taxi you'd see dotted around. They were really pushing the idea of social gaming to get everyone interested, not just the hardcore lot. Football sponsorship was part of their plan too, apparently. The article mentions how Dreamcast adverts were a bit different, aiming at that 18 to 30 age group. There's a bit about the Dreamcast logo itself, in a section called Give Us a Swirl, looking at how recognizable it is. Well, what do you know? Highlights some good market research, showing the public is definitely aware of the Dreamcast brand. Oh, and there's a full-on advert for Dead or Alive 2, with Kasumi on the right-hand side, with Tecmo asking, "Are you hard enough?" They name-drop a few games in the article like Tomb Raider, Last Revelation, and even Bass Fishing, though they mean Choo Choo Rocket, and neat as examples of how they're getting the Dreamcast name out there. Humvee's top 10 Dreamcast games chart is led by SEGA Bass Fishing. The list also includes Crazy Taxi, Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, and Sonic Adventure. The playlist section offers mini-reviews, highlighting Sonic Adventure's enduring appeal, Crazy Taxi's fun gameplay, Power Stone's Capcom fighter status, Soul Calibur's graphics, SEGA Bass Fishing's addictive nature, and Worms Armageddon's strategic depth. Chart analysis notes SEGA Bass Fishing's continued success and Tomb Raider's popularity, while questioning House of the Dead 2's staying power. A competition offers a chance to win all 10 games. Finally, an advertisement promotes a £5 discount on Dreamcast games at HMV. The next page is showcasing a selection of gadgets aimed at both boys and girls. There's a Seiko Mid-Air watch, which is a bit of a novelty wrist computer type thing, and some Grado Senior 60 headphones, decent bit of kit for the audiophiles even back then. Alongside that, there's an Ericsson R250 mobile phone, a pretty standard mobile phone of the era. Then you've got a metal detector, and a rather odd mouse phone, which is shaped like a computer mouse with a phone keypad. And finishing it off, a quick mention of some ice creams, like Fab, Maxibon, and an M&M's ice cream bar. Just typical Gadget magazine filler, really. This page showcases a feature called Vox Pops, where they've taken a Dreamcast pod out to Epping Forest, which is quite clever, getting the public to try out Rally 2 Expert Edition. They've interviewed a range of folks, asking them about rally driving games in general, and their thoughts on Rally 2. You've got Chris, the parts technician, Lindsay the dental nurse, Sarah the student, even little Jordan at just 9 years old, and then Gavin, Mark, John and James from various walks of life. They're all asked if they know any rally drivers. Colin McRae and Tommy Mackinnon are popular answers. Car choices in the game range from Ford Focus to Peugeot 206 and Subaru Impreza. The general consensus on Rally 2 is pretty positive, with comments about good graphics, realistic driving, and the damage making it more immersive. It seems like a fun way to get people playing the game and giving their opinions. In an interview titled Big in Japan, Koichi Aizawa, editor of Japan's Famitsu DC magazine, discusses the Dreamcast's popularity in Japan. He shares his gaming journey from classics, like Space Invaders, to his current role. He contrasts Japanese magazines, which are larger and include demo discs, with those in the UK, and notes the greater emphasis on models in Japanese publications. Aizawa reveals his team at Famitsu DC is larger than UK counterparts, employing over 20 staff and freelancers. He highlights popular Dreamcast titles like Shenmue 2 and Seaman 2, and the focus on online gaming. His favorite games include Crazy Taxi, Space Channel 5, Seaman, The Typing of the Dead, and Tomb Raider. The article concludes with Aizawa's anticipation for Metropolis Street Racer, a sentiment shared by many. This page showcases a bit of a mixed bag, doesn't it? On the left, we've got a feature about a band cheekily named Not So Daft Punks. Turns out they're actually talking about Bad Religion. Apparently they've made some crazy money from the game Crazy Taxi, which is an interesting angle. They've got a new album out called Crazy Taxi 2, Teen I suppose. The article touches on their sound, comparing them to other bands and their thoughts on the game itself. There's a quote from Stuart Dredge saying, "It was important that the game didn't entail killing anyone," which is a funny observation about Crazy Taxi. Then on the right, it's a seriously catchy HMV advert, with the tagline, "Seriously addictive." They're pushing 4 Dreamcast titles. Four-Wheel Thunder, that's the off-road racer from Midway. Always a blast for some arcade fun. Next up is the Nomad Soul, now that's a proper mind-bender. David Bowie soundtrack and all, very atmospheric and unique. Below that, Resident Evil, Code Veronica, the latest in the series on Dreamcast, Claire Redfield's Still Battling Umbrella, classic survival horror. And finally, Street Fighter Alpha 3, proper 2D fighting action, loads of characters and depth for the serious fighting fans. HMV are clearly wanting to remind everyone how good the Dreamcast game library is with this lot, and they're not wrong, some absolute crackers there. You could buy them online at hmv.co.uk, or at Top Dog for Games. They're plugging both options. Jet Set Radio, previewed for the Dreamcast, promised a fresh and original gaming experience. The game, developed by SEGA, stood out with its unique cel-shaded 3D graphics and street culture vibe inspired by Japan. The preview highlighted the game's totally original look and detailed, interactive environments. Players would control rollerblading teenagers, participate in gang activities, and spray graffiti, all set against the backdrop of a city environment, accompanied by music from DJ K. The preview emphasized the game's distinctive visual style, influenced by Japanese manga and cartoons. Key figures like Takayuki Kawagoe, Kikuchi Masayoshi, and Kazuhisa Masaoka were instrumental in bringing this innovative title to life, setting the stage for a game with impressive artistic direction and potential for engaging gameplay. This page continues the preview of Jet Set Radio, highlighting its unique visual style and innovative gameplay. It mentions DJ K as the man with the tunes in the game and emphasizes the creativity of the development team in creating a world of 3D polygons. Takayuki, one of the team members, remarks on how happy they were to create something so revolutionary. The article quotes, "The amazing graphics are quite unlike anything you'll have seen before in a game." The preview includes screenshots showcasing the cel-shaded graphics and street art style, emphasizing the scraping metal sound effect and impressive visuals. The main men's section introduces key developers, Takayuki Kawagoe, the producer from SEGA of Japan, Kazuhisa Hasuoka, a senior programmer from SEGA of Japan, and Kikuchi Masayoshi, a project planner and game designer also from SEGA of Japan. They are praised for their efforts in creating what is described as one of the most inventive games seen on the Dreamcast, with Kikuchi sharing his excitement and the team's dedication to bringing manga characters to life in the game. Super Magnetic Neo, a vibrant Dreamcast game, is a colorful, kitsch-filled adventure. Developed by Genki and published by Crave, it's due out in May. The gameplay centers around Neo's magnetic head, allowing players to attract and repel objects and characters, solving puzzles using magnetism and color coding. This mechanic drives innovative gameplay, easy to learn but with depth. The preview emphasizes the game's originality compared to other Dreamcast titles, with a charming and unique style. Screenshots showcase the vibrant world and magnetic mechanics, highlighting its distinct visual appeal. The game's core mechanic involves attracting or repelling enemies based on magnetic polarity. The preview concludes with a positive outlook, promising a closer look in the next issue, available June 8th. This page is a preview of Tony Hawk's skateboarding for the Dreamcast, and it's making a strong case for itself as the best version of the game. It highlights the graphical leap from the PlayStation version, emphasizing the level of detail that PlayStation gamers haven't seen before. The game is being developed by Treyarch and published by Crave, slated for a June release. The article points out the improved visuals on Dreamcast, noting sharper graphics and greater depth of field. It mentions the core gameplay is still focused on performing tricks and challenges, with a wide variety of levels and secret areas to explore. They mention the gleaming the cube aspect, highlighting the realistic environments and the ability to skate anywhere and do anything. There's a section called Tricky Stuff that discusses the control system, emphasizing the neat control setup for performing combos and intricate tricks like kickflips, grabs, and grinds. They also touch on the scoring system, where chaining tricks together and maintaining speed are crucial for high scores, rewarding skillful play. It sounds like they're really pushing the depth and replayability of trick execution. Screenshots show off the in-game action and graphical fidelity, with captions pointing out details like shadows and the level of graphical polish. Overall, it's a very positive preview, building anticipation for the Dreamcast release of Tony Hawk Skateboarding. The next page continues the preview of Tony Hawk Skateboarding on Dreamcast, really banging on about the improved graphics compared to the PlayStation version. They are proper chuffed with the physics engine, saying it makes the game feel realistic, and that performing tricks feels great because of it. They mention there are various game modes like free skate mode where you learn the courses, and a graffiti mode where you compete with another player. It sounds like they're really impressed with the level design and the fact that you can skate pretty much anywhere. Gamadag. Alongside that is a preview of Fur Fighters. Blimey, what a bizarre game that looks. It's described as a cute and violent shooter from Bizarre Creations, and published by Acclaim. Apparently, you're rescuing babies in this strange world. The article mentions it's got a warped sense of humor and unusual level design. They highlight that there are 6 playable characters, each with unique abilities like wall climbing and gliding. It seems like a very odd but potentially fun game. This page is all about wacky races on the Dreamcast, bringing the classic cartoon to life in glorious 3D. Seems they're really excited about it, saying, all the character and cars brought to life in glorious 3D. The article talks about how the cartoon was a staple of their childhood, and they've captured the essence of it in this game. It mentions key elements from the cartoon like Dick Dastardly and Muttley being the villains, and Penelope Pitstop. They highlight the game's faithfulness to the source material, mentioning the wacky vehicles and the cartoon's humor. There are screenshots showing the game in action, with familiar characters like Penelope Pitstop in her compact Pussycat and other racers battling it out on colorful tracks. One screenshot shows a hazard called the Creepy Coupe Grab Some Air, and another shows Boulder Mobile with an exit replay option. There's a character reference section where they're describing the characters in the game, listing Penelope Pitstop in the compact Pussycat, the Slag Brothers in Rock and Gravel, Gruesome Twosome in the Creepy Coupe, Red Max in the Crimson Hay Baler, Luke and Blubber Bear in the Arkansas Chugabug, and Professor Pat Pending in the Converter Car, amongst others. They mention that 8 races are available initially, and the rest are unlocked later, including Dastardly and Muttley. It sounds like a proper faithful and fun adaptation of the cartoon for the Dreamcast. This page continues with the Wacky Races preview, elaborating on the game's features. They're talking about how each vehicle has unique gadgets and weapons, encouraging strategic play. It mentions Travis the designer, stating all 11 Wacky Races cars are in the game and have their own special abilities taken straight from the cartoon. They emphasize that while it's easy to pick up and play, there's depth for skilled players to master. There's a section called Taxi for Travis, where they discuss the game's race structure, saying it's all about crossing the finish line first no matter what, allowing for strategic play using vehicles and weapons. They're also talking about 2 handling modes, Kart and Advanced, for different skill levels. Then there's Cartoon Fun, discussing how the game really captures the feel of the cartoon, with intentionally simplistic graphics and over-the-top action. Over on the right side of the page, it's a Dreamcast advert for Grand Theft Auto 2. Released on bail, it says, and it was slated for release on the 28th of April on Dreamcast. The advert shows the game logo over a picture of some skyscrapers, looking very much like the city from the game. Grand Theft Auto 2, bit of a classic that was. Black and White, Peter Molyneux's God game from Lionhead Studios, is coming to Dreamcast in October, published by SEGA. This ambitious title puts players in the role of a god, shaping a world and its inhabitants. The core gameplay revolves around influencing worshippers and raising a creature that learns from your actions, with your choices determining its nature and appearance. Inspired by diverse influences, including films and The Seventh Seal, the game promises an evolving world where player actions have meaningful consequences. Early visuals, still in development, aim to enhance the immersive experience. The creature's personality and abilities will evolve, and players can choose to be benevolent or malevolent. The game emphasizes a tactile experience, with nymphs providing spells and worship increasing power. The world's transformation based on player choices is a key feature, highlighting Molyneux's signature blend of grand ideas and ambitious gameplay. The Dreamcast advertisement showcases two games. One ad focuses on Hidden and Dangerous, a World War II action game, emphasizing its atmospheric and engrossing gameplay with gritty screenshots and the tagline "Save Your Privates." The other side previews Black and White, Peter Molyneux's God game, highlighting the creature system, choice between ape and tortoise, and the impact of player actions on the world and their creatures' behavior. The preview discusses training your creature, influencing worshippers, and the game's morality system. It emphasizes the Dreamcast version's unique features and the ambitious scope, building anticipation for this unique God game experience. This page showcases previews and back issues from the magazine. On the left, there's a preview of Portapet, which is related to Peter Molyneux's Black and White. It describes The Gathering as a standalone program where you create and customize your own black and white creature to interact online. They talk about training your creature, teaching it tricks, and how its appearance evolves. There's a quote about Black and White not really being a god game in the traditional sense. They also mention the creature fight sequences being as good as Dead or Alive 2. On the right side, there's a back issues section, summarizing the content of past issues from October 1999 to May 2000. Each issue summary includes the main game reviews and previews, features, what's on the cover disc, tips and guides, and the price. For instance, Issue 1, the definitive issue, features reviews of Ready to Rumble and Sonic Adventure, while Issue 2, the Japan issue, covers Power Stone and Virtua Fighter 3 TB. Other issues highlight games like Soul Calibur, Grand Theft Auto 2, Metropolis Street Racer, Resident Evil 2, Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, and Rayman 2. Lastly, at the bottom right, there's an order form for readers to purchase back issues of the magazine. This page is a preview for Hidden and Dangerous, a World War II game. It's described as a realistic war game with interactive scenery. The article emphasizes the mix of squad-based combat and 3D strategy, noting that you control up to 40 characters with different skills and abilities. You even get to drive 15 authentic vehicles with weapons. The preview highlights the game's focus on meticulous planning and stealth, requiring players to carefully consider their approach. It mentions that the Dreamcast version is being optimized and that the PC version could crash frequently. The game boasts impressive interactive scenery that you'll ever play through, and that it features 3D engines enabling forest movement and building infiltration. The preview notes that vehicles can be entered, and fuel and ignition key details are important, and there are 10 different vehicles from trucks available. The game is set across various locations, including Italy, Germany, the Balkans, and the Baltics, with 23 missions inspired by classic war films. It sounds like they're aiming for realism, emphasizing the need for careful planning and execution to survive, and comparing the challenge to games like RoboCop. The expected release was July, published by Take-Two Interactive and developed by Illusion Softworks. The next page continues with the Hidden and Dangerous preview, showing more of the squad-based action and vehicle combat. They're really pushing the realism angle, talking about carefully choosing your men and their loadouts for each mission. Apparently you can tool around in jeeps, motorbikes, even gunboats and tanks, which sounds like a proper laugh. Weapon-wise, you've got your pistols, rifles, submachine guns, heavy machine guns, grenades, bazookas, and even non-lethal gear if you fancy playing it quiet. They're saying it's all about managing your resources and thinking tactically to survive these missions, which are spread across places like Italy and the Balkans. Then there's a preview for a different game called Silver. This one's a Dreamcast conversion from the PC. They've updated the controls for the console, apparently making it smoother with the new pad and analog stick. It's described as a classic sword and sorcery type game, with goblins and beardy wizards. They're showing some screenshots of the isometric view, and it looks alright. They reckon it's shaping up well after some early playtests and are expecting it to be a decent console version. It's due out in June, published by Infogrames. This page is mainly adverts. There's a big splash for a Dreamcast Magazine subscription offer, pushing 3 trial issues and a third off the price. They're really going for it, saying it's risk-free, and you can cancel any time in the first 3 months and get a full refund. Plus, they're chucking in a free Sega cover CD every month and speedy delivery. Blimey, they're keen. Dologun. Then there's an ad for Dreamcast games from Just Games, saying they start at £19.99 while stocks last. They reckon they've got the best games, prices and worldwide delivery. Sounds like a decent place to pick up a bargain or two. There's also an ad for Cyber Plus Net Video Games Experts, a mail order place, offering £5 off any game. Remember those days, eh? Mail order games. And finally, an advert encouraging businesses to advertise in Dreamcast Magazine itself. This page features a Dream Arena Fantasy Football 2000 advertisement, inviting players to manage a team and potentially win a trip to the Copa America. The registration period is from May 15th to June 10th. The review section, by Ed Lomas, discusses the overwhelming number of games and their cost. He highly recommends Resident Evil Code Veronica, awarding it a perfect score, and praises Sega Worldwide Soccer Euro Edition as a surprise hit. Other games reviewed include Street Fighter II, Double Impact, and GTA 2, with the latter being described as rebellious. Techromancer is also mentioned. A table below lists the games and their scores out of 100 to 4 Wheel Thunder, 76, GTA 2, 84, Resident Evil Code Veronica, 100, Sega Worldwide Soccer Euro Edition, 90, Street Fighter II, Double Impact, 82, and Techromancer, 88. An ODM ratings guide explains the scoring system. This page is a preview of the monster truck racing game, 4 Wheel Thunder. Steve Key is taking a look at this off-road racer for the Dreamcast. He mentions it's got impressive memory usage, allowing for detailed polygons and smooth visuals, avoiding fogging or popping. Key compares it favorably to some of Sega's classics, mentioning the gameplay is reminiscent of games like Sonic the Hedgehog through to Virtua Cop, and even Crazy Taxi. He notes the game's pick-up-and-play nature and lasting appeal, suggesting it's a solid title despite perhaps not being groundbreaking like Rayman 2. We already know from Ed Loma's review on the previous page that it scored a respectable 76 out of 100, so it's a decent addition to the Dreamcast library if you're into your monster truck mayhem. This page continues the review of 4 Wheel Thunder. We get a good look at more screenshots, showcasing different aspects of the game, like boosting past other racers, rival cars trying to take you out, the beastly monster trucks themselves, and races set in locations like Greece. There are also shots showing off features like the beam changes according to the scenery, and replay cameras. The review text delves into the gameplay, highlighting how it's an arcade-style off-road racer that's easy to pick up and play. They talk about mastering the boost system, learning the tracks, and mention the variety of game modes available. You can choose from different vehicle classes like 4-wheel drive, trucks, buggies, jeeps, and quads. There's a speak out section with Maxime Delaris, art coach at Callisto, who reckons the best thing about the game is the outstanding, highly detailed graphics, praising the engine's power. He also mentions enjoying other Dreamcast titles like Dead or Alive 2, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and The Nomad Soul. The magazine even emphasizes a quote calling it one of the most entertaining driving games you'll find, so it seems they're rather impressed with this monster truck title. 4 Wheel Thunder is reviewed, highlighting its emphasis on vehicle customization for championship mode, earning cash, and finding hidden bonuses. The review praises its superb levels, multiplayer, and learning curve, but criticizes repetitive aspects and the music. It receives an 8/10, being called a must-have Dreamcast racer. An advertisement for Slave Zero follows. It's described as an intense, futuristic action game with impressive graphics, environmental interaction, and multiplayer. It's received positive reviews, and is advertised as the next big thing, with 16 missions and city-spanning action. This page is a review of Street Fighter II Double Impact for the Dreamcast. It's highlighted as an old-school scrapper, and the review expresses fondness for the game and its style. The game is praised for its animation, described as smoother and more intricate than any other 2D fighting game. The reviewer notes the addition of extra characters, new attacks, and slight gameplay additions compared to previous games in the series. The best of 3 round scrapping is mentioned as very similar to older titles using the classic 6-button control system. The review also mentions super art attacks that are chosen before each fight. The screenshots show classic Street Fighter action with characters like Akuma, Oro, Ryu, Ken, and Swan in various stages. One screenshot shows the super art selection screen. Takiskuk. There is a speak out box featuring Peter Jones from Virgin, who praises the game's smooth animation, depth and responsiveness, calling it a high-quality arcade fighting in your own home. The verdict is, top-quality title that scrap fiends will learn to love, with uppers, including artwork, animation, new characters, and near-perfect control. Downers include the parrying system being hard to master, and Elena's stage being a bit crap. It got an ODM rating of 7 out of 10. The price is listed at £39.99, and is published by Capcom and developed by Virgin. This review from official Dreamcast Magazine, June 2000, praises Grand Theft Auto 2, describing it as sick and wrong in a good way. Set in the future and available on PC, PlayStation, and Dreamcast, the game maintains the controversial nature of the original while capturing imaginations. Despite its 2D perspective, the review highlights engaging gameplay, including criminal underworld interactions and police chases. The Dreamcast version is deemed comparable to others, emphasizing consistent gameplay across platforms. The review notes the freedom offered, showcasing chaotic and humorous moments. The captions on screenshots reinforce the game's absurd, criminal-focused humor. While acknowledging its controversial nature, the review concludes positively, appreciating GTA 2's appeal to a specific audience. This page is a review for Grand Theft Auto 2, proclaiming that if you've never played a GTA game, you're missing out. It's got a section called Sounding Off, which is all about the in-car stereo, saying it's brilliantly funny and funky with loads of radio stations, even if the police are a bit too sensitive. Then there's a drive-through section, explaining how you can get the cops on your tail just by being a bit too flashy in your motor. There are some screenshots showing off the carnage. One shows a massive explosion with the caption, "It's a donut the size of the street." Another, a bank robbery in progress, and another with cops swarming the player saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, did I run you over? Your friend too, and her." It really captures the over-the-top, dark humor of the game. The review reckons the gameplay is still top-notch despite being a bit dated graphically, pointing out things like computer-controlled carjackers and plenty of chaos. The verdict box is glowing, saying breaking the law has never been so much fun. Uppers mention the top-down action and reckless driving, with downers noting it's not for everyone, and the graphics aren't the best. It scores a solid 7 out of 10. It also mentions the price is £39.99, and it's published by Take-Two, and developed by DMA, and is available on PC, PlayStation and of course Dreamcast. It seems they're still well impressed with GTA 2 even at this point. Tech Romancer, a quirky robot fighting game from Capcom, features over-the-top battles and imaginative robot designs. The game presents a world invaded by giant robots, with a tone reminiscent of Johnny Five from Short Circuit. Screenshots showcase massive explosions, special weapons, and combo moves. The review emphasizes the game's atmosphere, highlighting unique robot designs, and a core fighting game structure with light, heavy, and special attacks, alongside grapples and dodges. The verdict is enthusiastic, praising the loads of cool moves, big robots, and tons of explosions, while acknowledging some graphical confusion and unnatural special move techniques. Awarding the game a 6/10, the review suggests Techromancer is a worthwhile purchase for fans seeking a different fighting game experience, especially those with a fondness for robots. Published by Virgin and priced at £39.99. This page reviews SEGA Worldwide Soccer Euro Edition on the Dreamcast. It seems like they reckon it's a pretty solid footy game, developed in about 8 months. They talk about it being a step up from previous versions, especially graphically and gameplay-wise. The review mentions it's got decent pace and is generally enjoyable, highlighting the fluidity of player movements and the ability to string together good moves. However, it's not without its issues, pointing out some niggly problems like the pace sometimes being a bit erratic, and some oddities with ball control and keeper AI. They mention new features like slider bars for crowd rudeness, and it seems to focus on European teams with a good selection of national and club sides, listing Arsenal, Rangers and Bayernhof as examples. Overall, they think it's a good game but with some frustrating flaws. This page continues the review of SEGA Worldwide Soccer Euro Edition, and it seems they're still on the fence, calling it mightily good fun, if occasionally frustrating. They mention the commentators, James Richardson, Peter Brackley and Trevor Brooking, noting they ramble on a bit, but it's all part of the charm in it. The reviewer reckons the stadium graphics are pretty good for the time, even with the crowds looking a bit basic. The list of shame section highlights a few gripes. Apparently getting the ball off your player can be tricky, and the AI sometimes does odd things, like not picking up the ball when you expect them to. They also moan about the ball control, saying it's not always consistent when trying to dribble around players. And then they talk about set pieces too, particularly corners. Apparently, aiming them is a bit of a guessing game, but when it works it can be rewarding. The reviewer also mentions the referee, saying he's a bit keen on blowing his whistle, especially for offsides. Despite these niggles, they seem to think there's fun to be had, especially in multiplayer. They reckon it's better than FIFA 2000 in some ways, particularly visually, and for the gameplay. They end by saying that while it's frustrating at times due to the ball control and volleys being tricky, it's still a decent footy game overall. This page reviews SEGA Worldwide Soccer Euro Edition, calling it mightily good fun, despite some frustrations. The stadium visuals are deemed acceptable, even if the crowd graphics are basic. The page also features a walkthrough on scoring a classic goal. Cricker. An advertisement promotes buying and selling retro consoles, computers, and games. Next to it, a full-page ad for Cheats Unlimited offers cheat codes and tips for over 3,000 games, with a focus on Dreamcast titles, listing numerous popular games. Finally, another advertisement promotes Dial a Game, a service offering Dreamcast games and accessories delivered within 3 days, with examples like Crazy Taxi and Resident Evil 2, allowing users to order by phone and pay later. The next page is an advertisement for the Dreamcast. It's pushing the console with the slogan Games, Net and Match, highlighting its gaming capabilities, online features and the ability to play with others. It also mentions 128-bit, email and free internet access as key selling points. You can see images of the Dreamcast console itself, the controller and the keyboard, showcasing the full package. This drinking article from the Dreamcast Magazine's Reviews Roundup section is a social piece centered around a pub visit. The team gathers at the fire station near Waterloo Station in London to discuss games. Before the pub talk, up for discussion previews 4 games: the Monster Truck Racer 4-Wheel Thunder, the anime fighting game Tech Romancer, the top-down carnage of Grand Theft Auto 2, and the futuristic tank blaster Red Dog. Superior firepower. The main focus shifts to the fire station, described as a great pub for gamers, mentioning its good atmosphere and central location. It's an ex-fire station, popular with travelers and commuters, and offers good beer and food. The article aims to highlight a social aspect of gaming, specifically how Dreamcast fans can connect in a pub setting. The review section focuses on Dreamcast previews. First, 4-Wheel Thunder impressed with its monster truck racing, praised for its physics and accessibility. Tech Romancer, a giant robot fighting game, was highlighted for its anime style and Japanese fighting game influence, though its broad appeal was questioned. Grand Theft Auto 2, a PC and PlayStation hit, was acknowledged for its addictive gameplay despite control issues and performance problems. Finally, Red Dog, Superior Firepower, a tank shooter, received criticism for its difficulty ramp, suggesting a mixed overall impression of the titles. This page is part 3 of a series looking at jobs in the games industry, this time focusing on artists. It details the role of a game artist, explaining they are responsible for the visual style of a game, from initial concepts to near perfection. It outlines the prospects are excellent, with opportunities to become artistic directors. Salary-wise, junior positions start around £16,000, rising with experience. Qualifications are less about formal art degrees, and more about showcasing skills, imagination, and ability in a portfolio. The article goes into the artist's process, starting with visual style, then moving to sketches, characters and locations on paper, before using computers to create 3D models, textures, and even 2D art. It mentions games like Tomb Raider, Lost Revelation, and Rayman 2 as examples of games where visual style is key, and even mentions Choo Choo Rocket, In the context of early graphical considerations, the piece emphasizes the competitive job market and the need for a strong portfolio, alongside skills in 3D and 2D software packages like 3D Studio and Adobe Photoshop, which are highly valued. It paints a picture of a demanding but rewarding career for budding video game artists. This text explores the life of a games artist, featuring interviews with John Dugdale and Ed Hayden, detailing their backgrounds and experiences. The piece highlights the varied nature of the job, the importance of teamwork, and the constant pressure of deadlines. A case study focuses on Criterion Studios' Trick Style, showcasing the game's visual development, from concept art to final 3D models, emphasizing detailed environments and character design. The artists offer career advice, stressing the importance of a strong portfolio showcasing diverse skills. The verdict is generally positive, suggesting excellent opportunities for skilled and passionate artists, acknowledging both the rewards and the demanding aspects of the profession. Olivier Raffard from Eden Studios discusses Rally 2 Expert Edition for Dreamcast in an interview from official Dreamcast Magazine. He emphasizes the game's balance of realism and fun, noting the Dreamcast version's superior visuals compared to the PlayStation version due to a complete overhaul, not a simple port. Raffard's favorite car is the Peugeot 206, and he highlights the use of the Twilight tool for detailed track design. He also praises the Dreamcast's increased power. The interview covers realistic car damage authorized by manufacturers, driving tests for authenticity, and the team's involvement in rally events. The title change to Millennium Edition was a marketing decision to reflect the year 2000. The team refined the game based on player feedback. This page is a full-page advert from Gameplay for their extended sale on Dreamcast gear. They're boasting about being Britain's biggest mail-order supplier of computer games and are offering a free catalogue. They're pushing Dreamcast hardware bundles and a massive sale on all Dreamcast games at £29.99 or less. They're showing off images of some top titles like Sonic Adventure, SEGA Rally 2, Soul Calibur and House of the Dead 2, and are also selling a whole range of Dreamcast accessories, from keyboards and memory cards to arcade sticks and steering wheels. Gameplay are making a big deal about their low prices, huge choice of games, good quality and service, and even a money-back guarantee. There's a huge list of UK Dreamcast games advertised, covering pretty much every title you could imagine, from Aero Wings right through to WWF Attitude. This page dives right into a walkthrough for Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, focusing on Part 2. Looks like they're helping folks stuck on the second half of the adventure. It's broken down into sections, starting with the Chambers of Toulon. They're telling you to grab a motorbike straight away, and then deal with a soldier and a pesky armored minotaur. Next up is Trenches. Sounds like you're making your way through some trenches, using palm trees for cover, and dealing with machine gun nests and steam pipes. Then we move on to the Street Bazaar section, detonating mines, using a jack and lightning rod, and finding a padlocked trapdoor. After that, it's the Citadel section, where they are guiding you through using minecodes, crates, a compass, and getting past a flame trap. Right at the beginning of the walkthrough, they cover Citadel Gate, mentioning the first dragon you'll encounter, a fire-breathing beast no less. So it seems to be a pretty comprehensive guide, covering a good chunk of the game, giving players a helping hand to get through some of the trickier bits of Lara's latest adventure. This page continues the Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation walkthrough, moving through more tricky areas. It starts with the Sphinx complex, guiding players through using levers, keys and avoiding traps. Then it's Underneath the Sphinx, where you're told to look out for symbols, scorpions, and navigate using binoculars and a flashlight to solve puzzles and get to the next hieroglyphs. Menkori's Pyramid is next, warning about scorpions again, and needing to climb to the top, get keys and kill guards. Inside Menkori's Pyramid details, using swinging blades, ropes, mummies and levers, to progress through the pyramid, and collect keys. Khufu's Queen's Pyramid involves using armory keys, jump pads, and avoiding sliding blocks and guardians to reach the key. Then it's Inside the Great Pyramid, focusing on using tunnels, avoiding sliding blocks and getting the shaft keys. The Great Pyramid section covers tunnels, climbing and using ledges to avoid falling and get to the end. Finally, it concludes with the Temple of Horus, where you need to fill water basins to reveal scriptures and get an amulet to progress through the temple. It's still giving very detailed step-by-step instructions, with pictures to help players navigate these challenging pyramid sections. This is a walkthrough for the early levels of Rayman 2, The Second Revolution. The guide, written by Matt Diamond, aims to help players, even with the game's cheerful aesthetic, navigate its challenges, particularly finding all crystals. General tips include using shadows for jumps, locking onto enemies, charging shots, and collecting purple lums. The guide advises players to push through, even when damaged, due to ample health. The walkthrough covers 3 levels. The Woods of Light, Level 1, focusing on collecting yellow lums, freeing cages, and navigating the environment. The Fairy Glade, Level 2, emphasizing purple lums, vine swinging, water sections and activating vortices. And the Marshes of Awakening, Level 3, also known as the Cave of Bad Dreams, which involves pushing marsh, rescuing teensies, and dealing with zombie chickens and laser beams. The guide promises a comprehensive step-by-step approach with visual aids. The next page continues the hints and tips section for Rayman 2, The Second Revolution. We've got level guides with screenshots for the Bayou, Sanctuary of Water and Ice, and a bonus level called the Walk of Life. The Bayou level focuses on navigating with the pirate ship, using bombs, and dealing with cages. Sanctuary of Water and Ice level mentions underwater sections, collecting yellow lums, and navigating currents. The Walk of Life bonus level looks like a straightforward stage for collecting lums and cages. On the right side of the page, there's a rather striking image of a slightly unsettling cat-like creature, with the word fur above it. It's definitely trying to grab your attention, typical magazine page layout to draw you in. Below this there's a DC exclusive features section, highlighting the Dreamcast version of Rayman 2, which boasts 3 bonus games not found on the Nintendo 64 and PC editions, all unlocked as you collect crystals through the game. These bonus games are accessed in Glowbox Village, and include finding opposite tall rocks in the Woods of Light, jumping between vortexes to grab purple lums, and collecting red lums by jumping around a tower. It mentions these extra games give excellent replay value, and more are promised to become available online later. It also notes that the first one was already available, involving collecting red lums by swinging higher and higher. Sounds like they were really pushing the online aspects even back then, ambitious stuff for the time. This page details the monthly challenges set for Dreamcast gamers. This month's challenges feature 3 games: Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur and Revolt. For Crazy Taxi, they want to see who can earn the most money in 5 minutes in the original mode. The Soul Calibur challenge is all about surviving and winning in the extra survival mode. Finally, for Revolt, the challenge is to set the fastest time on the Museum 2 stage. Below this, there's a results section showing the high scores for the previous month's Soul Calibur and Worms Armageddon challenges. Looking at the Soul Calibur table, Ben Murdoch from East Sussex tops the chart with a time of 2 minutes 03, and Danny Phillips from Merseyside is leading the Worms Armageddon table with 101 wins. Dominating the right side of the page is a large, slightly unnerving image from Fur Fighters. It's a rather striking looking game, with a cartoonish but slightly menacing looking animal character holding a couple of guns. It's published by Acclaim and will be available on both PC and Dreamcast. Fur Fighters, that was a bit of a Marmite game back then, wasn't it? You either loved it or hated it. This Dreamcast magazine page offers tips and cheats for various games. In Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, players are advised on how to proceed past a quicksand cutscene. Blue Stinger players learn how to defeat Blue Stinger enemies. Crazy Taxi tips help players stop accurately at fair circles. Soul Calibur's Sophia's underwear rumor is addressed, with button combinations to change colors. In Rayman 2, instructions are given to progress past a level after an evil tree. Worms Armageddon players are given tips for level 15. Cheats include NBA 2K codes, ECW Hardcore Revolution unlockable wrestlers, Jimmy White's 2, Cue Ball's character selection, Sonic Adventure's Chaos power-up trick, Revolt's progress table editing and UFO unlock, and Sega Swirl's score boosting code. Lastly, NBA Showtime provides hidden midway characters unlocked via initials and pin codes. The page encourages readers to submit their own tips. This page presents the games directory from the magazine, offering a summary of Dreamcast game reviews previously featured. We've got a rather peculiar looking character illustration taking up a fair bit of space, but below that are capsules for a number of titles. Let's see. Vaggie, Aero Wings, the flight combat game, Blue Stinger, that early survival horror action title, and Deadly Skies, which is another aerial combat game. There's also Armada, Buggy Heat and Dynamite Cop, a beat-em-up I recall. Moving down the page we've got ECW Hardcore Revolution for wrestling fans, Evolution, Fighting Force 2, Crazy Taxi a classic of course, and F1 World Grand Prix. Hydro Thunder is there, the Powerboat Racer, along with Incoming, and Jimmy White's 2, Cue Ball for the snooker fans. Finally, there's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Legacy of Kain. Soul Reaver rounding out the selection. Each game has a screenshot and a very brief summary of the original review, giving readers a quick reminder of what was said in the magazine previously. On the right side, there's a visual memory FAQ, addressing common questions about the Dreamcast's VMU. It covers what a VM is, why consoles might freeze, battery replacements, save game worries, VM animators for PCS, the purpose of VM animations, which games have minigames on the VM, and if you can download minigames online. Practical stuff for Dreamcast owners really. This Dreamcast games directory highlights a diverse selection of titles. Fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom, Mortal Kombat Gold, Psychic Force 2012, and Power Stone are featured. Sports fans are catered to with NBA 2K, NBA Showtime, NFL Blitz 2000, NFL Quarterback Club 2000, and Sega Worldwide Soccer 2000. Action games like MDK2, Millennium Soldier, Expendable, Slave Zero, and Speed Devils are also mentioned. Platformers are represented by Rayman 2, The Great Escape, while racing games include Monaco Grand Prix Racing Simulation 2 and Revolt. Survival horror fans are told that Resident Evil 2 is a must-play. Other noteworthy titles include Red Dog, Pen Pen, Sega Bass Fishing, Shadow Man, and Ready 2 Rumble Boxing. House of the Dead 2 is also highlighted as a fun arcade port. The directory also features an online FAQ covering various aspects of Dreamcast online gaming, from setup to game updates. Breda. This Dreamcast game directory reviews a variety of titles. Fighters like Street Fighter Alpha 3, Psycho Dojo and Soul Fighter score well, while WWF Attitude struggles. Sports games like T-Off, Virtua Striker 2, and UEFA Striker vary in quality, with Soul Calibur earning a perfect score for its visuals and gameplay. Racing games like Trickstyle, Sega Rally 2, and Sonic Adventure receive positive reviews, though some face minor criticism. The Nomad's Soul is praised for its ambition, but criticized for its execution. Zombie Revenge and Toy Commander provide action-packed experiences, while Snow Surfers and Wild Metal offer average scores. Other notable titles include Vigilante 8-2 ND Offense, Suzuki Alster Extreme Racing, Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, and Worms Armageddon, which offer varied gameplay experiences. This Dreamcast magazine page features reader reviews and a FAQ. Arrow Wings, Shadow Man, and Ready 2 Rumble Boxing received low scores and mixed opinions. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver got a 7, praised for its story. Marvel vs. Cap.com and NBA 2K earned solid 8s, lauded for their gameplay and graphics. Crazy Taxi scored a 9, praised for its visuals and fun. Sega Swirl, despite a not reviewed status, got a 7 for its addictiveness. The FAQ covers Grand ROM size, region-free play, and game release delays. It discusses the Dreamcast's initial high price, £100 at Christmas, and potential future price drops. Other topics include game saves, Naomi arcade hardware, and PC Windows game compatibility. The FAQ ends with questions about Shenmue's release date, unknown, and upcoming football games, promising but not necessarily the best. Dreamcast Magazine reviews shopping websites accessible on the console. They cover a range of stores: Agent Provocateur, Gifts, Electronics Boutique, Electronics, Baking Boys, Muffins, Bowl, Books, eBay, Auctions, eToys, Toys, Gameplay, Games, Hotbox, Adult Gifts, Travel, Gameplay, Games, Hotbox/Music, MovieTrack, DVD Rentals, Pet Planet, Pet Supplies, Pharmacy2U, Prescriptions, Ticketmaster, Tickets, Virgin Clothing, Clothing, Waitrose, Groceries, and Nobles. The article highlights the convenience of online shopping, even on a Dreamcast, though some offerings seem niche or less practical. This page features the big debate section of the magazine, focusing on the overuse of genre descriptions in video games. The discussion is titled, No Cliché, and centers around the phrases sports sims, driving games, and beat-em-ups, arguing that originality is a forgotten word. 6 industry professionals share their opinions. Stephen Augustin, a freelance product designer, thinks gamers love these genre types. Matt Broughton, PR manager at Infogrames, questions their lasting appeal and suggests gamers want more controlled gameplay. Kevin Buckner from Deep Red Games believes there's a lack of imagination if the industry keeps relying on these terms. Matt O'Driscoll, producer at SEGA Europe, thinks the terms are too broad and don't accurately reflect the variety within gaming. Penrose Taki, senior product manager at Infogrames, wonders if the reason these genres are so popular is simply because they sell. Finally, Gary Peters, a design engineer, believes developers resort to cliches when originality is lacking, suggesting publishers play it safe. Essentially, the debate is about whether the industry is stuck in a rut with these genre labels, and if it stifles innovation in game development, with everyone offering slightly different perspectives on why these terms persist and whether it's a problem for creativity. It's a good old chinwag about game design and marketing in the industry at the time. In a discussion about game design, industry figures debate the importance of gameplay versus technology. Kevin Buckner and Matt O'Driscoll champion gameplay as paramount, while Matt Broughton suggests technology holds more significance. The panel then discusses the essential element of fun in games, with Crazy Taxi serving as a prime example of enjoyable, timeless gameplay, even with less advanced graphics. The conversation progresses to Dreamcast games and originality. Matt O'Driscoll highlights the potential for genre-bending titles, and others praise games like Black and White and Pokémon for their originality. Stephen Augustin views the Dreamcast as an evolutionary platform fostering new genres. The discussion explores the balance between technology, gameplay, and pure enjoyment in the context of the Dreamcast era, pondering the future of game development and the value of originality. This magazine section features reader letters and Sega's answers to questions. Readers praised Samba de Amigo and Metropolis Street Racer, while others inquired about Crazy Taxi's graphics, Dreamcast's Netherlands availability, and Neverwinter Nights. Ask Sega confirms the American browser disk works in the UK and discusses free internet access through BT. Sega clarifies SCART provides stereo audio and addresses issues with Dream Arena, video file playback, MPEG and AVI supported, and the delay of Doggone. Additional sections previewed 10 out of 10, Choo Choo Rocket, and hooking up the Dreamcast for stereo sound. Sega GT is confirmed for Europe, and there are discussions about TV connections, NFL 2K's online play, status unknown, colored VMUs, and job applications for game testers. This page features a rather amusing article about one dedicated gamer, Chris Mully, who took his Quake 2i arena obsession to the extreme. Apparently, this Canadian chap froze himself in the Arctic to pose nude with the gamebox, all for a competition. Madness really, but seems he won. On the right, it's an advert for Maxim magazine, pushing their website as the web magazine for men. They are touting features like news, sport, albums, films, competitions, interactive bits, and chat. Looks like they're going for the adult entertainment market with things like fantasy and virtual photoshoot sections, alongside a Score with Lovely Courtney feature. Typical Maxim, really,